Hello everyone, this is Ajit here. In this video, I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks to give you a good start for your professional Scrum with Kanban or PSK assessment well before you go on reading various blogs or start attempting some of the practice questions available around. Traditionally, Scrum and Kanban have been seen as two different approaches, competitors under the Agile umbrella. But the PSK course brings them together, maintaining that Scrum doesn't change at all, but then the flow based perspective of the Kanban could be leveraged to enhance the effectiveness, efficiency, and the predictability of the Scrum. If there's one image to my mind which precisely summarizes the professional Scrum with Kanban, then here it is. There are sprints happening one after another at the regular cadence. Underneath is the flow of value. To optimize this flow, we provide regular feedback to the sprint in terms of the flow metrics and the historical data such as cycle time throughput, so that the empiricism, which is at the core of the Scrum, gets strengthened. Empiricism says that the knowledge comes from the experience and that any kind of decision making can be made based on the fact based data or empirical data. Empiricism has three pillars: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. If these three pillars are getting strengthened, automatically the Scrum would get enhanced too. Now, what is the definition of the Kanban as per the Kanban guide for Scrum? It says that Kanban is a strategy to optimize the flow through a process which visualizes, places work in progress limits, and creates a pull system. Visualizes in terms of creating a workflow with various phases within it, right? This is just an example which I have drawn here for your understanding. There could be any kind of workflow, any number of phases as the team finds fit. So in this example here, I maintained three phases, which starts with analysis, design, code, and test. Second is puts work in progress limits, right? Any phase within the workflow can have n number of work in progress items, right? But then the whole idea is that if you want to improve the flow, focus on the problems first, then we need to put the work in progress limits to each of the phase, or maybe at the sprint level, or maybe at the person level. Third is creating the pull system. Pull system meaning that the work item or PBI won't get pushed automatically to the next phase once they are done, but then they will wait wherever they are currently unless there is a slot available in the next phase. For example, the testing has a work in progress limit of 2, and if one PBI or work item gets tested, it vacates one slot, and in that it will be pulling the item from the coding phase once the coding has been done. Now let's talk about the flow matrix. There are four matrices which are relevant to this assessment: work in progress, cycle time, work item age, and the throughput. Work in progress items are, as I said in the beginning also, that are the number of items which are in progress in the phase or maybe at the sprint level. Second is cycle time. Cycle time is the amount of time which has elapsed since the PBA or work item started till it gets done, right? A cycle time of 6 would means that the uh, PBI or work item has been marked done within the 6 days time. Work item is the amount of time that a PBI or work item has spent in the workflow and still it hasn't been marked done. For example, a PBI is here with 5 working days, and another PBI on its fourth working day is in the coding phase. That shows that this PBI is moving faster, and this one is probably stuck for some another reason in the previous phase itself. Throughput. Throughput is the number of work items or PBI which gets completed in any unit of time. For example, at the end of first week, we might like to know how many PBAs have been completed, and at the end of second week, which could be the end of the sprint also, how many PBAs got completed as per the definition of done. Three of these metrics are related to each other through the little slope, where it says that the average cycle time is equal to the average work in progress items divided by the average throughput. What does it tell? It tells that the more work in progress items are there in the flow, your cycle time is going to increase, and increased cycle time would result in less throughput, meaning your number of PBH or work items that you can complete meeting the definition of done will get impacted if your cycle time is high. So your cycle time has to be as low as possible. Coming to the practices, out of many Kanban practices, four have been selected for professional Scrum with Kanban, which says visualize workflow, limit work in progress, actively manage work in progress, inspect and adapt the definition of workflow. Starting with the first one, visualize workflow to make it transparent so that you can have right kind of conversation, the right time to identify the opportunities for improvement. For example, here I said that PBI or work item is in its fifth day, whereas there's another PBI which is gone ahead on its fourth day. That means during the visualization itself, team can get to understand that this PBI is in trouble and probably need to be focused.
There are some aspects of the visualization that should be taken care of. One, there is a clear start of the workflow. Another, there is a clear end of the workflow. There are work in progress limits shown up. Each phase has very clearly what is in progress and when it is called done. There is one active state of the PBI or work item at any given point of time. For example, here, this PBI is in its fifth day. That's where his work item age is shown as 5 days. And then there is a PBI which is aging at the fourth day, but then it has come to uh, uh, the coding phase. The whole idea is that a PBI at any given time has just one active state. There should be policies governing the workflow in the visualization. For example, a PBI which is in the design phase may get completed, but then it won't get pushed to the next phase, that is coding phase, but would rather sit in the done column here, so that it can be pulled into the coding column as and when there is a slot available as per the work in progress limit. The PBI or work item could carry different kind of values. As per the Kanban guide for Scrum, there are three kind of value which are possible. One is stakeholder value, uh, which could be any functionality or features. Then knowledge value, it could be a spike, experimentation, proof of concept, and then process improvement value, which could be any action item around the process improvement identified in the retrospective meeting and taken up as a PBI in the sprint backlog.
Second is limit work in progress that we talked here. But then the important question is how low the limit could be, right? The answer is as low, which creates the tension and pain in the team so that they start self organizing within those limits to focus on the problem areas by collaborating with each other. That requires them to go beyond their skill set, helping each other. For example, a tester is trying to write the J units for the developers, and the developers are coming forward to do some testing, write some automation scripts with a commitment that they need to improve the flow and therefore enhance the Scrum. So, four aspects that I covered as part of limit work in progress is self organization, focus, collaboration, and the commitment that is required. Third one is actively manage work in progress items. Right before that, we need to understand the concept of SLE, that is service level expectation. To understand the SLE, we need to understand the cycle time as well. Cycle time says that on an average, a PBA gets completed in 6 days' time. But then, can we say that with 100% confidence? Probably not. But then, some sort of prediction can be done based on the historical data. For that, we use the service level expectation, where it puts some confidence with the number of days within which a PBI can be completed. So essentially, SLE has three components. One, that is forecast with two factors. One is period and a certain confidence and probability in percentage, right? Say, for example, that there is a 85% confidence that a PBI may get completed on or less than 8 days, right? Or in other words, that 85% items may get completed on or within 8 days, right? So language is very important here, and there could be direct question on it.
To understand the service level expectation, it is important to understand the cycle time schedule chart. When on the x-axis we have the completion date, on the y-axis we have the cycle time. Uh, all the dots that you see here are the cycle time in different given point of time. The dotted line that you see here, this one, this, and this, and this precisely tells you the service level expectation. How do we read it? If you can look at the right hand side of it, this dotted line shows 50%, this one 70%, this one 85%, this one 95%. Let's take the example of this dotted line. It says that all the dots which are below 8 covers up the 85% of the cycle time based on the historical data, which have been completed on and before 16 days.
So moving back to the actively managed work in progress, since we have understood SLE, it becomes slightly easy to understand this. We look at the workflow and try to identify the work items or PBIs which are stuck because of some blockers or which are aging, and you want to take some actions on that so that they also move forward in the flow and it meets the service level expectation that has been set against them. The fourth one is inspect and adopt the definition of workflow. Important thing to note about this point is the workflow itself. There could be two types of workflow. One which is within the sprint, which is defined by the development team or developers as per the new Scrum guide. But then workflow can also extend beyond the sprint limits. For example, here we can see that out before the sprint start, there is a requirement elicitation phase, which is where the product owner may get involved. And also, once the sprint is done, there are some release testing phases, which is where the product owner again may get involved and development team too. So for this workflow, which are outside the sprint, the entire Scrum team, product owner and the development team or developers may get involved in defining the workflow. And that is a very important point to know. No one outside the Scrum team ever defines the workflow for this team. That is the second important point to know. Now coming to the inspect and adapt part of the workflow, ideally the definition of workflow, its related policies, work in progress limit, all should be revised during the retrospective session itself. That's the ideal place to do it. But then the revision of these could take place anytime during the sprint. Why do we talk about revising it in the retrospective alone? Because it reduces the unnecessary complexity and any chaos which may pop up during the sprint execution. Point to note here is, can a PBI take an exception of the work in progress limit if there is some urgency? The answer is yes. If it doesn't require you to instantly change the work in progress limit, it's okay to take a PBI as an exception. Then you go to the retrospective and try to understand why that situation happened, and should we really need to change the work in progress limit to address these kind of situations in the subsequent sprints. Now, one important point that we need to understand is how does these flow metrics or practices impact the existing Scrum events. Before we go there is a concept of lagging indicators or leading indicators that need to be understood. These four metrics are divided into lagging indicators and leading indicators. Lagging indicators are the output or the data which has already happened, right? You can use that for prediction. Leading indicators are the inputs or the facts which can help you understand the upcoming scenario, the situations. What are the leading indicators or the lagging indicators in this matrix? Let's understand. Work in progress, work item A's are the leading indicators. Cycle time and throughput are the lagging indicators.
How flow metrics impact the Scrum events could be understood by this table, which I picked up from scrum.org. On the uh, left hand side, you can see cycle time, throughput, work in progress, work item, aging as the core metrics as per the Kanban guide for Scrum. And at the top, you can see the events, sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. Starting with the sprint planning, two flow metrics are throughput and work item age. Throughput is key because based on the throughput, you can make some predictions for the upcoming sprint, and in that proportion can pick up the product backlog items. For example, on an average, your throughput has been 7. Then in that case, team can pick up 7 PBIs for the sprint. Also considered is the work item age matrix, which tells you what to do with the leftovers. Meaning, if any item aged in the previous sprint and could not be completed, then should we consider it in this sprint? Daily Scrum, two flow metrics which are important are work in progress and work item age, which tells you what's going on, what kind of scenarios may emerge, and what kind of actions we can have. Because daily Scrum is an inspect and adapt activity, these two leading indicators become very important for it. In the sprint review, three flow metrics could be considered: cycle time, throughput, and work in progress. Throughput is key metrics because based on the throughput, you can make some predictions for the rest of the release. We also consider the cycle time to understand how the cycle time has arrived for this sprint, and also what are our work in progress items which we couldn't get complete. Sprint retrospective is an inspect and adapt opportunity when you can look at cycle time, throughput, and work in progress being the key flow metrics there to understand how these has been keeping in the current sprint and where the opportunities to improve it. We can also consider work item age metrics to understand why there were some items which aged so high and how do we avoid them aging.
There are also some don'ts that you need to be aware of. First is around the Kanban. Is Scrum with Kanban an ideal combination in every kind of situation? The answer could be no, because there may be some scrums which are already running very smoothly. There is no flow issues. Customer is already happy. They are delighted with the value proposition that the teams are delivering. In that case, adding the Kanban practices may only create a pain and unnecessary chaos, which probably is not advisable. Second is little slow, right? Here, as I said, average cycle time is equal to the average work in progress and average throughput. But then this is more of an indication that says that if your work in progress items are more, then it is definitely going to impact your cycle time and the throughput. But then in what proportion? You can't get the answer. If you put a certain number here, it is not going to give the exact number of cycle time or exact number of throughput, right? So that is another thing that you need to keep in mind. So that's all about the professional Scrum with Kanban. Some ideas, thoughts, tips, and tricks which I thought would give you an instant understanding of this assessment. Let me know your comments and feedback. Thank you.